Hey everyone. So it's been about a week since I posted anything. Figure I'd do another video. It's still freezing here in northern Indiana, I think, with the sub-zero wind chill temps today. So another inside video. That's fine. Today I thought we'd talk about tools. Um, Tools I think a first-time farmer or somebody just starting out would need. Um, So, as you guys have seen my barn before, I showed you guys the tool chest and everything. I got two large tool chests with a counter on top of it and a pegboard full of tools. You don't need all that. It's nice to have, but you don't need it all. Um, I started out, after I left the service, I started out as a heavy truck mechanic, and I did that for about 4 or 5 years. Worked at a dealership, and then I worked at a grain elevator before switching careers to what I do now. Which is emergency services. So I amassed a large amount of tools in a short amount of time for that job. Being a mechanic is probably the most expensive job you're ever going to have. But I kind of want to touch bases on some tools and everything that, you know, I use every day. Um, and for a small time farm operation, that you would, I think, would benefit somebody starting out. So um, sockets and wrenches are a must. I'd say go anywhere from quarter inch to inch and an eighth, both sockets and wrenches. Um, if you're getting the older equipment, you don't necessarily need the metric, but metric's always nice to have. So get yourself a good set of metrics. 3/8 drives. When you get closer to the 3/4, switch to a half-inch drive. Get yourself a good set of impact sockets for both metric and standard. Deep and shallow. I can't stress that enough. Um, your vice grips, your channel locks, adjustable wrenches, pipe wrenches are something you'll find you're going to use a lot. Obviously you're going to have the grease gun and a couple good hammers. And now I'm not talking about a claw hammer, although claw hammers do come in handy. I'm talking about a sledgehammer, something really good to swing with. When it comes to your electric versus air, I run both. I started with air because 12, 13 years ago when I got in the mechanic field, it was probably longer than that. Electric tools were just starting to make headway, but they weren't really big, so there wasn't a lot of good options out there. So I run a lot of air tools. Now, I would say if you're starting out, start with air. You're going to need an air compressor, a fairly decent sized one. So it only makes sense if you have air tools to run off your air compressor that works. You're going to need an air compressor to blow out the dry fertilizer hoppers, or to blow out air filters, air up the tires on your tractors and all that. Those little rinky dink pancake compressors or the battery powered ones were never designed to air up a tractor tire. Semi tires are kind of pushing those. Those are for your run of the mill. Hey, I'm gonna go blow out this quick little line, or I'm gonna air up my lawnmower tire, or I'm gonna run a nailer or something. They were not designed for the large volume tires like your combines and your tractors and all that would have. So if you're going to have to get an air compressor, might as well start with air tools. So some of the air tools I have I call it a whiz wheel, little grinder, a 4-inch grinder, cutoff wheel. I have several half-inch impacts, like a 3/8 impact. Air drills, those are kind of a dying thing, but I find they're really nice, especially when you're drilling into some thick metal. Run that air compressor instead of killing all your batteries. Um, those are just some things. I start off with, maybe an air drill, a half inch and a 3/8 impact. So I got air ratchets and stuff. But again, I used to work on semis for a living. I did that for about 5 years. Um, Semis, I worked in trailers, and honestly, I still do to this day. It's more of a side gig for me. I got some farmers around here who hire me to work on their equipment, and that kind of helps me supplement the farm. Wire strippers, assortment of screwdrivers, and pry bars. Um, get yourself a punch and a chisel set, and that'll get you started. That'll you can take care of a lot of the stuff you need to do with those tools. Something else, I'm looking at my workbench right now. Test light, a good test light, and a voltmeter. Those will get you a long way. And then you can start getting the more expensive, the larger tools like the welders. I have an oxygen acetylene torch. That it's a small one. I mean, they're small tanks. How little I use it, the tank's been empty for about 6 months. But it's nice to have when you absolutely need it. I also have a MAP gas and a propane torch. I use 90% of the time. That usually gives me enough heat to do what I need to do with. It's when when you throw the F card and F it and you want to just get it off. That's when I break out the big oxygen acetylene torch. Or if I'm fabricating something, I use that too, but I haven't been doing that in a while. Some other tools that are really nice to have. I got pressure testers. I have a computer for hooking up the trucks and everything. Um, that's all kind of specialty stuff. A tap and die set I use a lot, and I'm gonna go out as far as saying a thread restoration kit. Um, I would probably buy that before the tap and die if you're really looking at prioritizing things. And a thread restoration kit is similar to a tap and die, but it doesn't cut, it restores. So the teeth are not meant for cutting new threads. They're meant for fixing already threads that are already there. And where that comes in handy is, especially with like me and maybe like you might be able to do, buying the older equipment. You get those rusty bolts that don't want to go together right, or hey, this bolt still, it's a specialty part, but the thread's a little messed up on it. You run that thing down those threads, cleans them all up, gets the rust off, gets the glue off, gets the Loctite and everything off. It makes it so much easier. I use my thread restoration kit 100 times before I got to break out the tap and die set. So there's all that, and then eventually, I know it's 2025 going to 2026. I'm getting into the electric tools finally. I'm a little bit late on the game. I had some Snap-on 12-volt stuff from when I worked in the shop that I used a lot. But now I'm getting into the heavier stuff and the more of the on-site repairs and stuff. I said I work for other farmers too, repairing some of their equipment. I'm not going to get in the tool war. Milwaukee, Makita, DeWalt, whatever. I run DeWalt 20 volt. And the primary reason behind that is I had gotten some DeWalt tools from a buddy for free for doing some work, and it didn't have any batteries. So I went and bought the batteries, got the chargers, and I'm like, I'm not going to have a DeWalt battery and a Milwaukee battery. No, I want one tool for everything. So I do have the Snap-on stuff. Those are dying. As soon as they die, I'm just going to switch it all to DeWalt. But that's what I run. That's my weed whackers, my leaf blowers, my impacts, my grinders, my Sawzall, my circular saw for cutting wood and everything. All that is DeWalt, because that's what I run. It makes it so much easier to have one battery. So I can take a couple batteries, throw them in the truck, go out, do what I got to do. And I ain't got to worry about, did I grab the right battery? Is this battery charged? No. I have a charging bank in my office that I showed you guys, hooked to a timer. So if I put the batteries on the door with their charge. When they're empty, they go on the shelf next to it, and I run them through the charger. And then I just grab couple batteries, and I go. I ain't gotta worry about this special battery for this special tool. No, either I got the Snap-on batteries or I have the DeWalt batteries. If I red tool, red battery, yellow tool, yellow battery. I'm not gonna sit here and worry about, oh, do I have my Milwaukee battery? Do I have my Makita battery? Do I have my Hitachi battery? No. Make it easy on yourself. Buy one brand. Now there are things that Milwaukee makes that DeWalt doesn't. Whatever. I don't really need all those specialty tools. You know, let's say I'm looking to buy a DeWalt grease gun or electric grease gun. DeWalt makes those, so it is what it is. I'm not going to be out here beating them up every day. So I don't need that to pay that premium price. And honestly, when it goes, you know, the torque specs and everything, if my DeWalt can't handle it, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'5". If my DeWalt can't handle it, I got a breaker bar. Breaker bar, and I got cheater pipes. You know, make it work. So that's the tools I would recommend for anybody starting out. And learn your equipment. You know, one of the huge benefits I see and I've experienced buying junk and fixing it up is I know the ins and outs of that machine. My John Deere 494A planter, nothing worked on it. None of the chains worked. None of the insecticide boxes worked. Everything was frozen. I had to sit there and I had to free it up. My dog's down here. I had to free it all up and work it all and make sure everything worked and moved and lube it all up and clean it all up. I know the ins and outs of how that thing works. So when it breaks, I kind of know where to go. It is an older piece of equipment, so it will break. Come here. It will break. Sorry, my dog wants a pet. It will break on you, but that's fine. Just fix it. The older stuff is easier to work on, easier to repair, a little bit harder to find parts for, but nice thing about older equipment is a lot of it's usually universal. So I can go get a sprocket from over here, make it fit. You know, so that's just, you know, a quick list of tools that I would recommend you have. You get specialty stuff as you need it, extractors, you know, flare fittings, pry bars. I'm looking at my box, you know, Allen heads. Tools are a long-term investment. So think of them as that. Don't go buying the Harbor Freight Chinesium special stuff. Or if you're going to go buy Harbor Freight, fine, but buy the better Harbor Freight stuff with a lifetime warranty on it. Tools are a lifetime investment. But don't buy what you don't think you're going to need. A rule I had in the shop, the dealership I worked in, I had to borrow something twice. I was going to go buy it. There was a particular socket. Actually, I got it right here. A particular socket that I borrowed 3 times, and I went and bought it. This little guy cost me $283 years ago. Who knows what it is now? And after I quit my job there, I have not used it since. It's to remove cylinder heads on a cat engine. I don't have a cat. I don't ever use it. So, you know, there's tools that you're going to need to buy that you may only use once or twice. Try to borrow them. If there's a specialty tool you need, try to borrow it first. So you may never need that tool again. Something we're going to leave off the list is oil filter wrenches. What I would recommend getting is pliers, filter pliers. I got a couple sets here, a big set, a small set. Don't really use the big set too much anymore. That's mainly for when I was working on semis, but filter wrenches are also a must. But don't splurge. Get good quality stuff. It'll make your life so much easier. Nothing is worse than being out in the middle somewhere with a set of wrenches, and the wrench you need that you're using 90% of the time breaks on you. And you got that you're already out there because something's broke and you're already upset and ticked off. Getting the tools you need to fix it breaking, I'll tell you, that spins you into a whole new level of ticked off. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. Remember, start small. Get yourself a little mechanic set. Buy everything as you need it. There's nothing wrong with using ratchets and breaker bars and all that before you have your fancy tools. Um, Learn your equipment, work on your equipment, get yourself a good set of tools. It will save you so much money and headache in the long run. So hopefully it warms up soon. We can start going outside, and I'll start showing you guys some of the livestock setups I have and some of the tractors and some of the equipment. And we'll go from there. See you next time.